Welcome to The Edit. If you're a photographer looking to elevate your business, you're in the right place.
We're three seasoned pros who have managed profitable businesses over the past 2 decades. Together, we've curated strategies for what works and what doesn't, and we're here to share that knowledge with you.
Whether you're just starting out or have been around a while, join us to build sustainable, profitable, and fulfilling businesses together.
Hello.
It's good to see you. We have not been chatting much on Marco Polo because everyone's been very busy. And I know you both just took wonderful trips, and I have stayed alone with my family. That sounds very sad. I've stayed in my house working and all the normal day-to-day things. How were the travels?
I'll go first because I literally just got back 2 nights ago.
Yes.
Excellent. They're really good. I had some clients that wanted some photos down in LA, so it was awesome to go explore places that I haven't been before. And they are the type of people that are like on it. They plan everything. So they had all the spots they wanted to go to, and it was really cool to see some new areas that I haven't been to before. And then it was my husband's and my 21st anniversary. So he flew down with the kids. When I was done working, we went to Disney for 2 days. So
fun.
It was a fun work trip combined with Disney because why not? Our kids are 5 and 3 and they're not going to want to do it forever. And we figured this would be a fun way to celebrate. So it was a nice getaway.
Ages. Like those are
exactly. Really wanted to take advantage of it. Plus, it's pouring down rain in the Seattle area. So escaping to 85-degree weather was very fantastic for a few days.
Sounds so nice. And then we've decided that we're going to talk about what's the last thing we photographed or even something important or interesting that you photographed. And I'm sure you have lots of options to choose from what you just shared.
I know. I'll just do my last one because that's like more fun. The last one I did was at Disney. One of our daughters loves all of the princesses and the characters, and the other one does not. Like, just like we'll wave and be like, you stay there. I'm going to be right here. One of the last pictures I took was we met Minnie Mouse, and both of my girls love Minnie. So we actually got a picture with both of them and Minnie. So that made me really happy that we got both kids happy in a photo.
That's awesome.
And then how about your trip, Erin?
I went the opposite direction. We went to the cold. My husband's from Michigan. And so he turned 40 on the 4th. So we went up to see all of his buddies and his family. I did work while I was there, and I don't normally travel with my camera. We have a baby. We've got a toddler and a 6-year-old, and you just have to pack too much stuff. So I actually traveled with my camera this time, and I did senior portraits up there. And I was in a heated jacket and she was in a tank top. And I'm like, this is me being from the South and you being from the North.
I love it.
So we had a nice, very quick trip and then just back to work since then. And so my last photo, I had a senior session 2 days ago. So right now it's busy season. So my answer is probably always going to be like, I just did a senior session. And then on my phone, I turned around and my 1-year-old was singing naked karaoke. So I know I shouldn't have taken a picture of her. We're going to get censored now. The podcast is now censored. Sorry. And it was like what is my life kind of moment. And so I took a picture and sent it to my husband. And I was like, things have gotten crazy since you've been back at work. Yeah.
I love it.
The juxtaposition of my life right now. Craziness.
I love it. That's how it goes.
Whitney, what was the last thing that you did?
Whitney?
Oh, well, I have a feeling it'll be the same almost every week because every morning I take my dog for a walk and I always take photos when I'm out. So I'm always like, and I really like to encourage people to do this, even photographers, just like taking a minute when you're walking, look and see what's around you. Thankfully, I have my dog that'll get me out, which gets a lot harder in the winter months when it's
no kidding.
So and then right now we're peak fall leaf in our neighborhood, which is just beautiful. So we have these beautiful like maple trees and so just a pretty leaf. It
I
was
don't
so
think
fun.
that we've shared where we're from at any point. And so we're talking, we know where, each other's from.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about the fall leaves and the traveling and stuff like that. So I'm Erin and I'm from Nashville.
And then go ahead, Whitney.
Oh, I'm Whitney, and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So very far north, but I did used to live in Nashville up until 7 years ago.
Oh, I didn't realize it was like that recent, actually.
Yes.
I thought you had been up there for a while. So there you go.
And then cold. My southern roots, definitely.
There we go. And then I'm Amanda. I am in a suburb outside of Seattle called Kirkland.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks.
So, yeah, we are going to jump into a topic that I'm very excited about. And I will say that I did not expect myself to be this excited about AI. But the more I learn about it, the more I love it. I love the possibilities. And it's been so fun researching and just seeing what all is out there. And then for this podcast in particular, I've done just even more research on kind of the history and a little taste of how we can use it in our businesses, because it is such a vast and very quickly changing technology. And so I would love to hear from each of you. Let's start with you, Amanda. What is your biggest fear right now about AI? Or have you even thought about what you should be fearful of?
While I feel like it might be far-fetched, the thing that kind of keeps popping into my head is, our family's just going to be like, you know what? We don't feel like paying a photographer. We're just going to go ahead and par our most recent photo we took at Disneyland with the kids and Minnie, and we'll just throw them into this program that then creates our ultimate Christmas card that we're sending out to everybody. And we didn't have to do anything other than upload the images of our face, and then it's created our bodies for us. It's done the whole thing. And that's the weird thing I keep thinking, is that at some point, especially being in the Seattle area with all the tech people, is this going to be the thing is oh, wow, you sent out a regular card. We sent out an AI card. So maybe that would end cutting into what I do for my job.
Yeah.
I think also on that, just expectation, if everyone is starting to send out AI cards. So yesterday I watched a reel where a photographer did a beautiful job transforming what was already a beautiful photo into something epic with the Alps and sheep and wildflowers. And it was a portrait of a girl in a field, but then all of a sudden it's something even better. And so for my clients, I'm like, are they going to always expect is what we're doing now not going to be good enough? And so I understand there's going to need to be some pivot. And I understand that AI is not the enemy. The people using AI, AI is not going to take away your business. The photographers who don't use AI, I've heard all of that, but I just feel like my client expectations are going to be through the roof, especially with social media and all of this beautiful stuff that's being put out there, if I don't jump on board with it. But then the problem with that, especially with me photographing teenage girls, mostly high school seniors, is I want them to feel okay just having a photo in a field, and them being the beautiful part of it and not having all of this elaborate stuff. And then that trickles into motherhood and my children's expectations of what's real and what's not, and they could go into a whole big rabbit hole there. But expectation and what is going to be the new norm overwhelms me with AI.
Yeah. Oh, those are really good. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting hearing the two of you share with us, and because you're both actively running portrait photography businesses. I am working, a photography company and talk to photographers all the time. But it just actually makes me think about what I'm most excited about AI. And this is actually, I wrote this whole thing down, is I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this is because I'm not in it, but I feel like AI is going to make people want even more those things that are real. Because
Interesting.
and
Okay.
I even notice with myself, if I'm doing a lot of work like with ChatGPT and brainstorming and all this, like a few weeks ago, I was like, I'm done. Like I want to do something with my hands. I want to create, sit
Mm-hmm.
outside, like talk. And so to me, I think it's going now, maybe not for everyone, but I think there's still going to be people that want that real connection, even that connection to a photographer and that way. And I know I've experienced this where people have said, that smile that you were able to capture, I've never been able to capture that of my child or
Mm-hmm.
myself, or like you saw something in me that I
Yeah.
didn't. And like AI is never going to be able to do that. At least, I don't know, maybe we'll be good robots for that. But again, there's still like this humanness
The human element to it. Yep.
able to do that. At least I think about because there's this surgence of all of these old crafts that have been
Yeah.
happening. Just even in like for the youngsters, there's all these people that are like even teenagers getting into things like knitting and crocheting, and because
Mm-hmm.
there's something like innate in us that we want to hold on to. That's actually what I wrote down is what I'm most excited about. Cause I think there's still going to be people that want it, but then how do you stand out? Like,
Exactly.
is that what you want to do? Or maybe you're like, I don't think either of you are this, but maybe you are a photographer that's like, man, I want this photo on a mountaintop with zebras.
Exactly. I can't get there with my schedule, but I want to create it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that is true. Like literally thinking about that, like, I don't know, a couple months ago, I feel like when like AI was like really in the news and everybody was being like very about it. I posted a picture that I had taken of this family, and it was one of the like typical gray Seattle days. It was the middle of the day that they could shoot because that's what worked with their schedule. So there was no way we were getting any sort of like sunset golden hour. So for fun, I went into Photoshop and used AI and had them fill in the sky for me. And like I smoothed it and worked it to make it look like it was real. And I posted it, and I posted like the AI version and the regular one. And it was interesting to hear feedback from people because I asked, hey, what are your thoughts on, like, is this cheating? Is this taking advantage of when works best for your kids, but still getting the ultimate image that you wanted? And it was really interesting hearing that feedback from people to see what they thought of it and if they were wanting to do it for their family. The people who I photographed, they actually chimed in about it too, which was really cool to get their point of view because they obviously, that was not the image that they got in their gallery or that they got printed was the one that I posted. But it was interesting just seeing that and seeing what you could do with AI just from something simple. And it took me like 5 minutes to create it.
Yeah. And I think like Erin, what you were talking about though is like that expectation. And I feel like that's where I guess there's like a hope in me that some of, but I actually don't know if it will happen because so much of that expectation people have depends on like influencers and celebrities. And are they going to, so if they actually get into that where they're just using AI for everything, for young kids especially, not being able to tell that difference. And I mean, really all of us. And so that is a thing, especially when it comes to how we look, not necessarily like settings, but body image. Yeah.
It's scary. There are so many pros and cons. What was that?
Yep. I'll say we already do that with Photoshop, which wasn't even AI. Photoshop changed so much of that where we still want to like, people ask us to erase the lines and make you thinner. And even as photographers, like we do that. That's a whole nother conversation. Like we could go into. So oh, this is great. Okay. We've talked about the scary stuff, and now I want to hear about from each of you. What are you most excited about?
From a business standpoint, I have just scratched the surface on ChatGPT. And I have the free version, and I understand that there's a paid version, and I probably should test the paid version for a bit because I do find myself having to reprompt and redirect a lot, or I'm just cherry picking things. But I think using that to help write blog posts and to help write or to proofread your copy for your website, or to just say, this is what I want to say. Can you make it better? I'm so excited for that standpoint. And I'm a words person. I was an English teacher in my past life, and I like writing, but there is only so much time in the day. So it would be really nice. I'm very excited about people who aren't great with words to have that option there. And then from the photo side of it, even things like flyaway hairs, I've been finding myself having the the generative fill, like smooth. Oh, I do have a funny story though. I was curious if it could clear someone's acne the other day. So I selected his entire face, and I was trying different prompts in Photoshop, like clear skin, remove acne, like every single one of them changed his face to somebody else's face.
Just seriously? Oh, wow.
And then it gives you multiple options. And so you can click through and pick which one is your best. It was a different face every time you click through. It gave you 3 separate faces. So there's still some work to be done there. I tried so many things. I tried just selecting small areas. At that point, I could have already Photoshopped. I could have already cleaned it up myself. But getting up my editing process with AI is what I'm excited about for sure.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that one.
Awesome.
My thing that I'm excited about is really similar. I know I've talked about how much I love outsourcing things I don't like to do. So I already outsource all my retouching. So I hope for all of my retouching team's sake that also happens, so their job goes quicker. I also hate culling. I think I just like photographing. I like photographing, and I like doing like the kind of businessy side of things. The culling and the retouching are my least favorite things. I shoot a lot because I work with kids, and they're constantly on the move. So I have so many photos from every single photo session, and trying to narrow them down drives me insane. And I am excited for AI to get better, because I have tried a couple of culling software options, and they have not been fantastic for me and my clients. So I am looking forward to the time where it gets better and I can reliably use it without feeling like I have to go through and recheck what it did, because then that's not saving me any time. And that was my biggest issue with what I tried, was I just didn't trust it, and I went back and I was right. Which was really sad. Like, you kind of feel like, oh, I was wrong. It was doing the correct thing. And no, I was right. It definitely was culling out stuff where I was like, why would it choose that one? Anyway, so that's what I'm excited for, is to help speed up some processes that take way too long and give a computer a task that I don't like to do.
And I love what you said about how you just love photographing. And I think there's so many photographers, myself included, where it's the editing, even just the business side, like of things like writing. I've talked to so many photographers where it's like, okay, if you're a photographer, you also have to be a writer, so you can write blogs, and a publicist, so you know how to do X, Y, and Z. And that, I feel like, takes away a lot from our craft and our enjoyment of the craft. So being able to have tools that can help us with this, I feel like will inspire more creativity, in terms of, if you're being able to spend your time doing that thing that you're really drawn to, you're not having to spend hours upon hours writing a blog post and being stressed about it. I just think it's amazing to see what it's gonna be. Yeah. And I think, like, in general, AI is going to, it will have the capability of doing that, of opening up more creative worlds for people. So as long as we're not like taken out by them.
Exactly. Our computer AI overlords come to tell us what to do.
Yes. Aliens or AI, who knows what'll come first.
Exactly. We'll see which one comes. Yeah, exactly. We'll see which one gets us.
We talked about you what?
There's a movie in that.
We'll see which ones get us first. AI.
We should film it. We should film it.
There we go. There was
ChatGPT to write the script.
There we go. Done and done. I'm already just thinking of, what was that movie? Alien versus Predators.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Alien versus AI.
I like that movie, Megan.
Anyways.
Which I
there
haven't
you go.
watched,
Yep.
but I do know about it.
Yep.
Okay. So you just shared, let's just jump into this because you shared about culling. And I know both of you have shared that like culling is a big thing and you've tried a couple programs. There actually are a lot of programs out there for culling, which, because I was doing some research about it and I put the names down of some. And so After Shoot, Narrative Select, Filter Pixel, those are some of the first ones I saw. I know Imagine does AI. And right now they are in the beta portion of it. So I was able to go on and try out a little bit of their editing, which I'll share about later. But I wasn't right now, since it's in beta, if you have a free trial, you don't get access to the culling. But one thing that just going through the Imagine setup process is they do a lot of learning. So in terms of, and I'm assuming that it's going to be the same for culling where you have to kind of there's going to be like a learning curve with that, even you training the AI yourself to get it to that point. So I'm very excited to see how that is. And I would love, maybe you're going to try it out, Amanda, and like,
I know I might at this point. I'm like, what are the names of all those ones? Yes. That's the thing is, like, when I tried it about a year ago, there were really not as many options. I'm sure there are now. And it's like one of those things where you try a few and you just get discouraged and you're like, never mind, I guess I'll do it. Like, so that's kind of where I've been is like, I don't know. They're probably not there yet. But it's like, yeah, there are a lot more options now. And I just haven't actually taken the time to go through to research myself.
So maybe, a couple months from now, then you can come back and give us a...
and be like, yes,
this is it.
Update. All I'm doing is photographing, nothing else. That's it.
I actually used to use one, I think for about a year. And I was working with an online clothing boutique. So we would take 10,000 photos a week. It felt not quite that many, but it was a lot of photos to cull through. And so I invested in one. I don't know if we're dropping names, but I invested in one and there was a learning curve. And so the first time I ran it, not so great. Felt like there was a lot of adjusting, but it would tell you every time you go through and make a correction, our system gets smarter. The same with ChatGPT, right?
Yep.
And so I don't know how long you gave it a try. I ended up only doing the 1-year subscription because I didn't have the need for it. We had a newborn at home and I just wasn't quite working that much. And so I might go back to it, but just say whatever it is that you give a try next. Unfortunately, I think you got to give it a try for a while.
Give it an actual, like a long,
which is not fun, but
we should name drop.
Yeah, I would say I totally.
It was After Shoot.
If you were happy with it,
it was After Shoot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it was After Shoot. They talk about the magic unicorns doing the work. Whenever it's like processing, it'll say, sit tight, magic unicorns are doing their work. I don't know if it still says it or not, but it did 2 years ago. But yeah, so it got pretty smart because with what I was doing, it was 4 different models that would stand and they would do 100 different poses and then they would go change clothes. I'm the queen of exaggerating, but they would do 20 different poses and then go change. But we're moving very quickly. And so the fact that it would just pull out the blinks, which I know you've had a hard time with some of your clients thinking they were blinking and stuff, but it would pull out blinks. It would group things that were redundant and it would put the best one on top. So if this is 6 photos of the same pose and this is the one we think is the best. It was a time saver for sure. Even if I did have to go through and double check things in the grand scheme of things, I think After Shoot worked for me. So is it Imagine? Is that I met them at Imaging or WPPI or something, sort. They were delightful in their booth.
Really?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they were very delightful. And I think if I were to go back to using one, that would be the next one that I would try just because I met them in person and they seemed so helpful. And just to test the waters, those are the 2 that would be on my radar, completely unsponsored, no ties to either of them.
I won't name drop the one that I did because I wasn't
us,
happy with them. But
imagine if you want to sponsor us, we will.
There we go. I'll try them out and see what they can do.
Yes. And so I actually know two people that work for them, like wonderful people. And so went because Erin, you had mentioned about how you have like presets that you use with Lightroom and you run actions. So I went through the beginning of the setup process for Imagine for editing, and they have several different ways that they do it. You can give them like 3,000 images for them to like analyze to learn what your look and style is. You can also upload a Lightroom preset for them to base it on.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
You can go through and tweak the images so that they can learn what you're doing. And they actually export everything as a Lightroom catalog. So you end up getting all of their edits in a Lightroom catalog. So you can do up to 1,000 edits for free starting off after you've changed them or trained them. And so I would be really interested if that would work for you in your workflow.
I'm tricky. My presets are in Photoshop. So then what happens is, I will do minor adjustments in Lightroom. I'll pull everything into Photoshop and batch run an action and then save it back to Lightroom. So the problem with that, I believe, and I could be wrong because I've not tested this myself, but the problem with that, I think, is that most of the adjustments were not done within Lightroom, and it needs to be done within Lightroom to work with that system. But I could be wrong about that because I'm not actually doing all of the adjustments and the editing within that catalog. Does that make sense? I don't know.
You're doing some of it in Photoshop. You then maybe do the edit, like the basic edits in Lightroom, and then run them as a batch through Photoshop. Like you do, Imagine, do the edits in your Lightroom and then take that and run it through Photoshop.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that would save me a lot of time, but I will do homework. I'm thinking after busy season, I will do homework and we can report back.
Okay. So we have talked about so much with AI, and I still have another page of notes to go through, which just shows how much we have going on. And so we will have to do this another time in part 2, because there are so many ways that you can use it. We can use it for social media, for our marketing, for video editing. Canva just released this whole new AI, they call it Magic for Canva, which
I haven't tried it out yet, and I'm so excited.
Create post for you. There's so much you can do. And we've chatted about this too. A lot of it is learning. And I actually got from Amanda some information from a session she did, and I was able to use ChatGPT to create some really cool stuff. And you will just have to wait for our next one.
There we go. We can dive into that part.
How I did.
I have to wait too because I haven't seen anything. Like you just told me to give you the prompt, and I gave that to you, and so I'm excited.
I know.
To see
so it's like, do I send it to you or wait until we can all?
Just wait till we can all get it at the same time.
But this has been so fun. We are just scratching the surface with this, and I do want to end on saying, with all the fears, and there's like definitely ways that it can be misused. We haven't even gone into that. I do think it's super important for people to learn to use it, because this is here. It's here. It's not going away. It's important to, especially for your business, learn what it is. It doesn't mean you have to make everything this unrealistic sort of setting, but we need good people to be part of this AI revolution, or whatever you want to call it. And so there really are some great benefits. I encourage you to go to theeditweekly.com and sign up for our newsletter. And we're so glad you've been hanging out with us, and we will see you